Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast. In this episode, we are covering episode 3 of Invincible Season 2. It's one of our favorite shows. It's out on Prime now. Check it out if you haven't. There will be spoilers ahead, so just keep that in mind. Akram, I know you're boiling right now to talk about stuff. So let us know your thoughts.
Oh my goodness. We got so much in this episode, albeit probably in the end credits of this episode, because that was really weird how they just
flashed that. Long ass end credit shit.
It was really weird. But my goodness, Invincible fans are eating good. We also have the release of Omni Man and Mortal Kombat 1, so that's awesome. This episode, in the beginning, was a little slow. I think later on, it definitely picked up and it tried to showcase what's going on with so many characters, including Alan the alien. He was like a main part of it. So we're going to do a full breakdown, but why don't we get your thoughts?
Yeah, the beginning was like this kind of like weird comedic thing between like Mark, and he's going to college and he's discovering himself a little bit. And then we jump to Alan the alien. I think he's a great character. I loved him in season 1. And then isn't he voiced by Seth Rogen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. He's so cool, great. And it was cool to see his origin story. I'm not, like I said, I'm not too familiar with the comics, but I love that they kind of like I love that they delve into like different points of view in this world building. It's not just all about Mark. There's other heroes and other. It's kind of like, you know, DC Comics or Marvel in a way. So I really love that about his character. And yeah, we get to see more of like what's going on with the rest of the galaxy with the Viltrumites. So I know you're big into the comic lore, so I'll let you take the reins on this one. What do you think it compared in comparison to the comics? Yeah,
so, and again, season 1 was easier to follow. When it gets to the more juicier bits, now we have to really keep up, because in the comics, at least, you have time to build. So in the show, that's why it may seem a little bit Johnson, because there's so many pieces that eventually will come together, including what happened to Alan the alien. I'm not going to spoil much for that, but definitely, I think there's gonna be something really cool. There's gonna be something really cool with him, something really badass. And even with Peter Cullen's character,
oh my god, that was such a eargasm hearing his voice again.
I just wanted to hear him say Optimus Prime, or I just want to hear him
say one shall stand, one shall fall.
Yeah, I mean, keep a close eye on him. We did get that reveal that he tried to deactivate Alan's life support, so I wonder why. And we do get a shot of the 3 Viltrumites that also kicked Alan's ass. They play a big part a little bit later on. And one thing I must mention is I'm not a big fan of how they went about Amber's character as much, because in the comics she was a bitch. I mean, everybody can agree. Everybody wanted to spit in her face in the comics. But you said a great point. You said that probably because everyone hated her in the first season, so they tried to make her better. And I understand that. I just feel like in the comics, what happens with Debbie is pretty sad, because she feels really alone. And I love how, you know, they're approaching her character. We really feel a lot of empathy for her character, of course. And I like that, because it's realistic, you know? And it's not like one of those things where you ever see like the husband dies and then, she just goes like on a day and say, hey, I'm with somebody new. It's like she has to take her time to really, you know, because she really loved Omni-Man or Nolan a lot. So the problem I have with Amber is that Amber was such a bitch in the comics, and Mark kind of disregarded Debbie. It's kind of like you felt happy that Amber was a bitch just to teach Mark a lesson, like stop being a simp and basically like go look after your mom. Because the whole thing about Invincible, in the grand scheme of things, it's uncovering your inner strength and changing as a person, whether for the worse, whether for the better. It's really the passage of time and how that changes you. And I love the relationship between Mark and Debbie in the comics, because it was something so heartening and endearing, the way how they approached it. And they could only have done that when you show Debbie completely being alone, and it's because Mark's choosing like another woman a little bit later on. And of course, I mean, I'm not going to spoil much about that, but interesting love interests in Invincible. And I hope that they actually discover that in Invincible season 2. But I think the biggest part for me was this alien creature, this little I don't know, bug guy, right? Disguised as a dog. Caesar Milan's biggest threat shows up. Let me get, as a newcomer, what did you think of that whole scene?
Well, at first I thought that was going to be related to Angstrom Levy, with the whole interdimensional thing. I was like, oh, maybe is he going to warn him about like, Angstrom Levy? But then it turns out to be like a facade. So that was a surprise for me. Joyful surprise. And then, yeah, so he takes Marks away. And this is actually like the first time he kind of defies Cecil. So wondering how their relationship is going to be from here on out. And yeah, then we see this planet. I think it's called Thraxa. It's really also I love the designs of these planets. By like even the Natopian planet.
Yes,
that was beautiful. Yeah, and then I was not expecting that reveal. I was like, damn, it's like so soon. I don't know for you because you probably read the comics more than me, but that was a shocker for me. Seeing Nolan back, I was like, holy shit.
I've been waiting my entire life for this.
And in episode 3, now I thought we would get him like a little bit later down the road because it seems like they were kind of like building on, Mark's past and Debbie's past and how they're trying to like come over it slowly. They're dealing it with their own way. So I thought maybe we get a little bit more of that. Maybe like Mark goes like on a few more missions, but to see Nolan back in this episode was a real shocker for me.
Yeah, because in episode 1 and 2, it was sort of this prelude to what's to come, because later on in the comics, it does get a lot more hectic and devastating. I could really relate it to certain animes. It just gets to a point where there's total destruction and there's stakes all over all the time. And really, it's like high intensity. A little bit later on, you barely get moments to breathe. And then later on, you get to enjoy the moments that you do get to breathe. And it's actually quite beautiful. So I think that's why they approached this formula of like making these episodes kind of a little bit jaunting, moving back and forth. They just wanted to get a lot of stuff out the way. And with that ending, finally, I mean, now we're in episode 3, it will get a lot more juicier. I think a lot of people are going to find Nolan's motivations at first really weird. And it's a complex situation because, of course, what he did. But at the same time, too, he did fall in love. Don't think that he actually did not fall in love with Debbie or he doesn't love his son. He did. It's just he's a Viltrumite at the end of the day. They have their own customs. And so, he's torn between both worlds. I will say that, especially the Viltrumite Empire. It's not all that it appears to be. I wonder why he's there on that planet, and I wonder why those 3 people are looking for a Viltrumite. Yeah. So I think a lot of people
wondering. You know the answer. You just
I know
don't
the
want to
answer.
say.
I just don't want to say.
Don't
yeah.
lie to me.
Exactly. But it's so juicy, man, and it's so good. There's so much tea and so much drama, but also it's just so beautiful. That's what it is at the end
awesome,
of the day.
Man. Yeah, I really can't wait as a newcomer to the series. I like to be surprised sometimes, so I'm glad that this is good for both you and me. There's 2 sides of the coin of people who've read the comics and people who are new to the show. Also, let me ask you, what did you think of the robot and monster girl scene? Because that was a big chunk of this episode as well.
Yeah. So again, they're both old, right? They're both of consenting age, which is funny contrast to their appearance. And they went out on a date. I'll just say that, and hopefully it all works out for them. It gets a little crazier.
You can tell in his face he wants to say something. So
I do. I like. There's like a summarillion of things I could say. It gets so crazy. Sure. But it's a nice start. They did their date a little bit differently than it was in a comic, so it looks like they're trying to take the time of that. I wonder if we'll actually get into their dynamic in season 3 rather than season 2, because then it'll be like too much. But yeah, for sure. And I mean, in the comics in Invincible, it spans like years and years, right? These people's lives, and we get to Robert Kirkman is good at that. You live with these characters all the way to the end.
It's great. Yeah, I love that. I love that. We kind of break up these very tense action moments and very heavy moments with these little nice like character moments. Like you get like the Debbie scene, and it's like so heartbreaking. And then you get like these little scenes with Robot Girl or Monster Girl and Robot, and it's like a breath of fresh air. Yeah, breath of
the wild or whatever. Right. yeah.
But yeah, it's really nice, like how these episodes are written. Like the pacing's nice, and sometimes it can drag a little bit on, but sometimes they're like little nice moments in between these heavy scenes.
Yeah, I completely agree. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Again, it was a little weird that they just threw in the, like, what was it, created by or whatever, and then
Like the middle of the episode, I was like, so weird.
That was the longest end credit we've ever seen in our lives.
Like a mistake at first, like, oh shit.
I wish Marvel did that. Like, imagine they did that with the Marvels. We got some more tea. It's like, okay. Yeah, it was kind of weird, but all in all, I think this was a pretty good episode. So, what would you rate Invincible episode 3?
I'd probably rate it 8 out of 10. It was pretty enjoyable for me. I'm loving this series so far. I can't wait to see where the direction goes. Like I said, I'm a newcomer to this franchise. I love season 1, and I can't wait to see how crazy season 2 continues. But let's get your rating for this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I give it an 8 out of 10. I think I'm excited for what's to come, but also we can't just live off of that. We also have to understand the episode, and I think it kind of makes sense for like other people to see this, and it's a little bit jaunting, the little back and forth, and the pacing is a little bit all over the place, but for the most part I think this is a promising episode, and it definitely gets your beak a little bit wet for what's to come. But without further ado, my friend, why don't you take us away?
Well, they ate and left no crumbs.
And put it in a dishwasher.
As you young people say. But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this episode, let us know what you thought. Leave a comment down below. Like this video if you enjoyed our review. Let us know. We did episode 1 and 2 already. And we're sticking with this series throughout. We have so much content for the rest of this month and the rest of the year. Oh my God, you guys don't even know how many shows and movies we have left to cover this year. But I hope you'll stick with us. But until then, thanks for having lunch with us, guys.
See you guys.